I love reading comic books, especially DC and Marvel, but it can definitely be a challenge to get into, with some series that have been running for decades. When my friends tell me to catch up by reading Wikipedia, that's where I draw the line. So I'm gonna introduce you guys to some great original stories that can be read for free on the Webtoon app. So now, let's get started. Unordinary. Imagine a world where everyone had supernatural abilities and the quality of your treatment was based on the power level you had. The main character John tries to survive society without using an ability to back him up in a mysterious past that no one really knows about. The author establishes a wide variety of different character personalities and strong character arcs. Some characters that you might hate in the beginning will change to your favorites and vice versa. Through these characters you learn about the world and how messed up it is, as it should be since it's created on a foundation of who's stronger. You'll discover gangs, terrorist organizations, and begin to question if the government can be trusted at all. The art is a little weak in the beginning, but definitely gets better as you read it, and with almost 200 chapters, you'll be reading this for a while. Overall, if you want a more grounded, supernatural story, then I would definitely put this on the list. Tower of God. If you guys haven't heard, this webtoon is so popular that it recently became an animated series. The story starts off with the main character chasing after a girl named Rachel inside the tower. A place that provides the opportunity to fulfill anyone's desires if you reach high enough. Each floor is like an entirely new world that introduces new species, monsters, and very interesting abilities. As the story continues, it follows the perspective of several different characters that are all connected to the protagonist in one way or another. Each character helps show a new perspective within the world and helps explain the complexities that run it, such as the different bloodlines that exist, how the tower is managed, and the secrets of the past. The main cast has a lot of depth to them, and that includes most of the villains. These villains they encounter appear naturally in the story and are driven by realistic goals. Which is why if you want to read a story that's filled with amazing action, fantasy, and deep characters, this story might be for you. This next webtoon is called Dice. Have you ever wanted to see what your stats were and increase them like a video game? Dice is made on that desire. The main character gains the ability to improve himself by collecting dice through missions given by an unknown entity called X. But what happens when he becomes his ideal self? The majority of the cast are fellow high school classmates of the main character, so if you don't enjoy reading about teenagers, then I would recommend to skip this one. The story takes place around the city landscape, but there's definitely more fantasy locations that appear later on. If you're interested to see the limits of these dice and the consequences of using them, then add this to the list. Room of Swords. If you ever woke up and didn't know where you were, you would have something in common with the main character. He wakes up finding himself lost in a deserted landscape, stuck in a time loop he isn't aware of. The only clue he has is the phrase Room of Swords, and to collect the treasured boss sword. The story is one of the most unique and creative out of the list, creating a world that keeps creating new questions for you to ask. The story surrounds itself around a group of characters that all come from different time periods. As they search for answers, you'll discover how the main characters connected to all of them. The art of these characters is the worst in the list, but they're the only ones that actually do some small animations, especially for the season finals, which are amazing. If you're okay with the art style, there isn't a reason you should avoid reading this. Noblesse. If you enjoy vampires, zombies, and great fight scenes, you should read this. It's about a vampire who finally wakes up after centuries. He tries living a normal human life, but it comes to a quick halt when the people around him start getting attacked by a mysterious organization. As these incidents occur, new characters are introduced, and I gotta say these characters have some serious depth to them. As their past is uncovered, you learn the reasoning behind their motives and begin to question if they're as bad as you once thought. In some moments of the story, I was more excited about seeing the villains than the main character, which shows how good the writing is. Also, because the main character's been asleep for centuries, you learn the world with him as you discover secret organization, world leaders, and his past vampire companions. So if you need something to block the memories of Twilight, this is gonna help. If you guys want a lighthearted read that explores the relationship between two time-traveling individuals that explore the history of the world, then you'll enjoy this. It starts off as a romance and slice of life, but definitely gets darker and more complex as it continues. There's a lot of side characters that are introduced that bring in a lot of fun, energy, and comedy. I only wish I could see them more. Although they use historical figures for the story, don't worry because it's definitely not an accurate depiction, with the author using his creative liberty to make the philosophers and scientists more interesting and unexpected. These characters are an important asset that helps the protagonists uncover the secrets of their time travel and the mysteries of the world. Even though I started this series doubtful, it brought a breath of fresh air that I feel like you guys could use as well. The last webtoon I'm going to be talking about is Sweet Home. If you want a good horror action story, Sweet Home should be your pick. A guy who gave up on everything wakes up to find disgusting monsters within his apartment complex. He tries to survive while uncovering the secrets of these monsters and encountering other tenants of the building. I would recommend not getting too attached to these characters because they'll probably die before you memorize their name. The monsters are devastatingly powerful and honestly make me wonder how humans possibly have a chance of surviving. The emotions of these characters are emphasized by the art, which follows the dark tone, creating incredibly menacing monster designs and enough jump scares to give you a heart attack. If you don't need sleep and don't get too attached, this webtoon will hit all the good points. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and if you have any comments about your favorite webtoon series, put them below.